one and all, and welcome to another episode of Baggers Chat. My name is Mitch Pattinson, and as always, we're joined by Ethan Daffy. And today we are doing a bit of a different episode. Obviously, we aren't playing this week. Carlton aren't playing this week because we have our round 14 bye. So, as you can see on the title of the episode, we are doing a 2024 mid-season review. So, obviously, we'll go through the first half of the season of what we've seen as Carlton supporters, but also we kind of predict a few things that come on in the second half of the season. But first things first, Daffy boy, how are you?
No, I'm well, mate. It's always interesting. I just saw that we had another Google Doc sheet of 2022. We're actually 8-3, I think, at that stage of the season in 2022. Not sure how we didn't make the 8, but we'll move on from that. But yeah, feeling good, Patto. Bit of a break, which is nice. We only played 4 or 5 days ago, so it's not too long ago. But it's just good to my heart needs it. My heart needs it for a week. Even though the last few games, as we said, we've been pretty comfortable in the end. So no, I'm happy at 9-4, Patto, and I think there's even more good things to come with the draw at the back end of the season.
Are you optimistic about what we can do in the second half of the season?
Of course. I think off the back of last 3 weeks, they've just convinced me that they've not turned a corner, but just gone to that another gear. In the sense that, we're beating these teams that we need to beat. Like, I'd say the Essendon game was a big one, and also the Gold Coast game. I know the Port one was big. But just those two wins were like, okay, the pressure. There's always, I felt like this season, we've always had the pressure on our back at some certain stage if we drop a game, but we always come back and win the next game. That's not Carlton of, the last few years. This is Carlton of this year in terms of, the monkeys on the back for a week. The media starts a little bit of talk, just a little bit, not major, and then we win, and then they just, cut it off. So it's really good to see, and that's how I look at the back end of the game, back end of the season. Not saying we're going to, just win every game. Of course, I'd love to see that, but in terms of, the back end, we should be beating most of these teams. We should be beating most of these teams. And, like you said, not routine wins. I guess you could say routine wins. But yeah, just get it done. Get the job done, and also build into the finals. Because, our momentum last year helped us get to that prelim, the back end half of the season. You look at Port Adelaide, they were reversed last year. They won 13, they had 13 wins in a row in the season, and they didn't win a final. That's pretty unbelievable. I'd love to see how many teams have done that in the past, won at least 10 plus in a row in the season and not win a final. It's quite unbelievable when you think about it. So hopefully we're not like that, and just build nicely into September.
Yeah, no, exactly right. So let's now swing straight into the run sheet, Daffy boy. And the first thing that we'll touch on is, I guess, an initial thought of our first half of the season, of what we kind of both think. But initial thoughts, Daffy boy, overall for the first half of the season. What's your thoughts?
I think for me, we've weathered the storm incredibly well. And that storm is the injury storm. Like we've had like we were talking about it before, we've had some tough games against some informed teams this season. We're 9-4. You know what I mean? We almost should have won the game against the Cats, who were 7-0 or 6-0 at the time. Like it's unbelievable when you think about it. We didn't have Weeders for the first probably 4 weeks. Didn't have Walsh for the first 4 games. Had some key injuries every single week. We had Sard out, we had McGovern out, who are massive for our ball movement at the back half of the ground. So when you think about it, you go 9-4. Gee, I am over the moon about that, to be honest. I know everyone talks about that game we dropped to Adelaide and so forth, but I just think it's a good record to have. And now we're looking to have players back next week, and I'm excited for that injury report. I think it's the first time I'm excited for an injury report ever in the existence of my life as a Carlton supporter, and I'm sure you'd agree with me. But it's a good time to get those players back, Patto, the mid-season kind of break, and they get another week to get their bodies ready for the big clash with the Cats next weekend. And not just that, but also just attack the back half of the season well. But I'm very pleased, Patto.
Yeah, well, I think that the two players that really come to my mind is Adam Cherry and Jack Martin, who are crucial ins, and that they are players who we kind of expect to come back in for round 15, but also like a David Cunningham, who I don't think will come straight back into the side. I don't think he's proved it whatsoever. But he's another player that he has the talent to be in that best 22 if there is a best 22. But like overall, there's small things that I've seen in the season that have proved that we are a top two side. Like the game management has been fantastic this year. I think every single review, whether we've won or lost the game, we've touched on the game management in terms of small things that we've seen a bit of a shift from last year to 2023, but also 2022 when we realistically should have made finals, but small things that we saw then we aren't seeing this year, which I think proves the improvement of the side, but also proves that we are more mature. And obviously the older players, they've got more experience as well. And certain players like Blake Acres who have come in, George Shield as well. Like these guys help the overall experience for trying to close out those games. But also, like I think against the good sides as well, we are actually proving ourselves to be a. I thought I could see you about to. What
It was coming.
But no, but like I think just small games like when we beat Melbourne by a point, like that proves, and then even that like Melbourne were a great side, but also the week before when we lost to the Pies, we're like, oh no, like maybe that, but we did the exact same thing. We were put in the exact same situation the week after, and we proved it. And I can guarantee if we play against Collingwood and it's another tight game, I mean, I don't guarantee because you never know, but I would really hope that we can have that same game situation and we can actually close them out because we know how great Collingwood are in that situation. But I think we're starting to build our confidence around that game management as well. But definitely, let's now move on to, I mean, obviously where we are on the ladder. So we're second on the ladder, 9 wins, 4 losses, which obviously in 2022, when we did our mid-season review, we were 8 wins, 3 losses, which is a bit funny. But I think we had our bye obviously a little bit earlier. But I mean, 9 wins, 4 losses, we probably are in the exact same position as we were then. But I think with last year having our experience with obviously making finals and making a prelim final, it really shows that we should now be really moving towards top 2 spot, or if not top 4. I think if we're below the top 4, that's a worrying sign. But definitely, I'm now going to throw straight to you. Best win so far this season in 2024. Who have you got? And what have you got?
Yeah, there's a few. Just thinking about a few in my head then that really just stand out to me. To me, I think it's a massive part to the start of our year. This game was in terms of mentality.
Yeah.
And I know that team, and I'm talking about opening round. I'm talking about opening round in terms of we were down and out in that game, and that's the first. Like, that's your first point of call in the season. How did your team look after the first game of the year, right? And you look at halftime, and I know we were texting each other going, oh, shit. Like, what is going on? Blah, blah, blah. And the turnaround in that game proved to me that we were going to be okay this year. You know what I mean? Like, and, you know, it was, you know, an extra bonus being there, and it was just an amazing experience, opening game. I know they were, you know, the grand finals the year before, and they've struggled a bit. They're still Brisbane in Brisbane, right? The opening game of the season, all eyes on you. And I think it was just a character building in terms of that start of the year where we had the personnel, lack of personnel for me. And like you said, with the start of the year, we you know, we were just banking those wins when we needed to. And I think that kind of set the tone, didn't it? In a sense that we don't have leadering, but we can get the job done in Brisbane, like against the grand finalists of the season before. So yeah, that was a fantastic win for me. But I'm sure there's another one that you'll come up with.
Yeah, well, I think that's a really good. I kind of expected you to say that one, so I knew that I have come prepared for another but that's a really good point. And another conversation is Jacob Weitering not playing that game, and also us being down by what was it, 42 points,
46, I think.
So 46 was the highest margin. Right. So 46 is, and I think we only kicked our first goal at the end of the first quarter, if not even early second, I think, by memory. But
I think so.
what that just shows, overall that the maturity of not having our vice captain out there, our general back in the back line, but also like in terms of the structure and that defensive structure, Jacob Weitering is a massive part of that. And you concede a 46 point lead, like we are trailing by 46 points. That for them to actually get around each other, and like Lewis Young also, who was playing that weathering role, and he was able to stick to his, I guess, routine to try and get through that game, and also in the end to get that 1 point win. Also with Harry McCauley kicking the sealer, there were so many stories there.
It was.
Yeah, because even the year before when Brisbane couldn't close out games, but like once again they're at their home ground. But another thing, Brisbane were unbeatable at the Gabba last year.
Yeah,
and the first game of the season, we go out and beat them by a point after trailing by 46 points.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
That's a statement. Did you want to say that?
I agree with the storylines. You're spot on. I think the biggest storyline was Mr. Mackay up forward. He had all the media. I remember in pre-season, he was dominating pre-season. We knew that. We knew that. He did a routine, and he missed one shot against Melbourne, I think, a few weeks before in the pre-season. Remember that? They'll talk about that one miss. And we knew, there's something different about Harry this season, because he was clearly our best on for the 2 pre-season games, and I was like, if he can just keep building that into the season, it'll be fantastic. And that moment, kicking the goal to win the game off your own boot after all that, it was written in the stars, isn't it? I remember when he was lining up, I was like, fuck, just please do it for him. Just do it for yourself. You know what I mean? So yeah, that whole game, like you said, the storylines were fantastic. And, we see how, with Doherty going down as well. So it was all sorts of shit going on in that game. But yeah, it was fantastic.
Yeah, because I think even in the review of the game, I think that's what you said. It was like written in the stars of like Harry Mackay in that moment, a minute 30 on the clock, and you have to go back 30 meters out. That's the kicks that he was shitting himself 2023, 2022 when he didn't have that form. God, like that, he would have had a devil in the side of his ear, like saying, "Oh, like you don't want to miss this one," or else the amount of stress he would have carried. But it wouldn't have even been stress, because he would have been like, "All right, well, I mean, it's routine. Go back and do it," and that's exactly what he did. Yep. So it's this year, Harry McCall. I'm so glad that we have been able to see his progression as a key forward, because obviously he won the Coleman in 2021, but 2022, 2023 was a bit of lower. Like, he wasn't at his best, and I think that's purely down to his confidence. But 2024, it shows how much mindset matters in a professional sport, because like even like individual sports like tennis, like that's like obviously the mental side of that is massive. But team sports as well, like soccer, cricket, like small things like that, like mentality is massive, and actually executing the basics in the pressure stages, that matters, and that's exactly what Harry Mackay did. So now my win, it's a bit different, and it's a bit like yours to kind of to kind of show the AFL world that we are good, we are a top 4 side, and it's our win against Port Adelaide.
Good.
So like a few reasons for this is the week before when we beat the Suns, like I didn't really think much of it, because like, yes, it's a great win against the Suns. We know that we know that the Suns don't travel well anyway. Like, we know that Hardwick hates playing at Marvel Stadium, and then obviously going to Port Adelaide, a game that we have not beaten an Adelaide side, like a ground that we haven't beaten an Adelaide side in ever, and we've gone over and actually beaten them by 36 points. That's massive. And I think like the week after, we obviously beat Essendon, so that's another game where it's like we've put together 3 great performances heading into the bye, but now it's like the next few weeks where it's like, is this actually the standard of football that we will be playing the whole year, or is this just a hot patch for the 4 or 5 weeks? But I expect it to be that's a standard, and it's now down to the opposition. Yep, this is what we can bring. Can you guys match it with us? And right now, there hasn't been any teams in this new, I wouldn't say game plan, but it's been a shift since Gold Coast, in my opinion. I think after the Swans game, that was obviously a smashing 52-point loss at the SCG, but I think there was a bit of a shift, like even small things in terms of bringing in Chin Cotter as a tag.
Yes.
Like, just small things like that.
Williams.
Williams as well. Yep. Was that the first game? Was
Gold Coast?
Gold Coast Suns went? Yeah, right. So that was when he made his return. So
I completely agree in terms of I think it was a big coaching shift. Not a shift, but I think it's like I've heard someone say, I think it's the best Michael Voss has coached in the last
100%.
ever in his career. Because I think he's made some absolutely fantastic moves the last 3 weeks, which have really stifled the opponents that we've played. Whether it's the tags, like you said, or also just the dynamic of Zach Williams up forward. So it's yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what he does. I'm really confident to see that sort of coaching happen later in the year and hopefully in September, because that's what the best coaches do. They no, I don't want a change of structure. I'm not don't put Wiedering full forward. I'm just more, we've got to now, like, especially with the Hollands, we've got a centre forward midfielder. We've never had a centre forward midfielder in our club. That's been our issue. We haven't had a guy who can kick goals consistently each week. Like he's a half forward, but he plays in the middle. You know those players, every team has them. Whether it's De Goey. De Goey's a clear one for me. I'd say Petrarca is a centre half, because he's probably got the most goal assists. I know he's out for the season. Thoughts go out to him, but guys like him, and there's a few others at different clubs. But you know what I mean? We just didn't have that guy. He just goes like Hollands. He has 20 and 3, plays in the middle. Like it's just really good coaching.
Yeah, no, exactly right. So Def Boy, let's now move on to a bit of a similar sort of segment, but obviously this is branched out to anything that's happened this year within Carlton. So best moments so far, Def Boy. Now, I mean, obviously you went up to the Gabba to watch that game, which is great. You also went to Adelaide Oval to watch that win as well. So they're obviously two great moments, but this could be anything. What's your best moment so far in terms of Carlton Football Club?
There's been a few good ones, actually. I think it's hard to go past. I'd say it was a moment together because the 2 goals were within 40 seconds. I think it was Paddy Cripps against Port Adelaide. That one from the boundary, that's going to be a goal I remember for a while. It was just, we're right behind it. You can see it all the way through. There's nothing better when you can see it all the way through. It's like, it was just something about that goal, and it was just like, oh shit. Like he's not like Cripps has arrived. He's arrived plenty of times in his career, but it was just, I think it was more a we've arrived, like you said with the game. I think it was like, it's Port Adelaide. We had a punch. It was a neck and neck game. I think we were in control of the game most of the game. We're up maybe a little bit. Maybe they would be up by a goal, but it was just like we knew it was our time to just punch him in the mouth in the last quarter. And what did we do? We punched him in the mouth, kicked 8 goals. It was 10 goals, 8 goals in the last quarter. It was ridiculous. It was absolutely ridiculous. We were on 50 something and we ended up on 100. So it was probably an 8-goal, 9-goal quarter. So, and it was started off that moment. I'd say the moment, I guess it's a moments, but the moments together, 2 goals in the first minute of the last quarter. That's what, guys like Dustin Martin do. That's what, big game players do. So it was fantastic to see that, and a moment I'll remember for the rest of the year, depending on what happens the rest of the year.
Yeah. It's a shame that we didn't do this from last year, because we would have said straight away, Blake Acres, 2023 final. But now my best moment, we've touched on it a few times already, and it's Harry Mackay.
Yeah.
Right in front of goal. Brisbane, opening round.
Yeah.
To give us a lead with 20 seconds to go. I think I won't touch on it too much, but yeah, that's my best moment so far. And that was by far the moment when I was watching on the couch after when I was going off. That's what we like to see. But therefore, let's now move on to the most improved player for the first half of the season. So obviously we touched on saying at the start of the year in terms of our most improved player. I'm not too sure exactly what we said, but I think there would have been a few players in there like a Billy Wilson, Jack Carroll as well.
Yes.
There's a few other players like even like a Jacob Wiedering to a stretch. If you really touch on like his improvement of last year to this year, like that he hasn't improved so much because he's such a good player, but it's kind of improved him now where it's like he's now in that conversation of the best defender in the AFL. So small things like that. Who's your most improved player this year for Carlton?
There's a couple that come to my head. And there's one defender and one forward mid type player. Yeah. I'll have to pick the guy we picked up from the other club. I don't know if he's definitely improved his game. But it's Elijah Hollands for me. I think I had big raps on him heading into this season. I think, there was a whole drug thing. I wasn't too, phased about it. I don't think I was too worried. And I thought he could. I watched the VFL Grand Final, and that told me enough. How the fuck is he playing in the VFL Grand Final? That is an utter that is what I'll tell you right now. If you're a Gold Coast supporter right now, the one reason why Stewie Dew got sacked was because he didn't play Elijah Hollins. How was he not getting in a game in a team that didn't make the A? That is unbelievable. Like Rory Atkins is getting games and they're not picking Elijah Hollins. It's quite unbelievable, but he has been the most improved, especially in the last month or so when he's been playing in the middle. That just showed to me that holy, he is a 200 plus navy blue player for the next, 10 or so years, because what is he, 21, 22? Obviously he's got his brother there who's going to be a star as well. So, yeah, for me, it's Hollins, but I think there's one name I reckon you're going to pull out of the most improved hat.
Yeah, well, there's a few names there, but just before we move on to the most improved, you mentioned there about the Gold Coast Suns and how there would have been a few fans out there maybe, or like if there are fans out there that might be a little bit angry. I don't know, because I don't think there's many Gold Coast Suns fans out there. So if you're watching this episode right now on Baggers Chat, well, credit to you, but I reckon you should maybe buy a Carlton membership, because they were now up to about 102,000 Carlton members. But if you're a Gold Coast member, I'm not sure. But no, well, let's steer away from that boy. But most improved. Now, there's two names. Like Elijah Hollins was the player that I was thinking as well, but you can almost say Tom DeConnie.
Fuck.
You can almost say Tom DeConnie, couldn't you?
Yes, shit.
Like you can almost say.
No, definitely. For sure. He probably is the most improved, to be honest.
I think it's an interesting one. It's like, I don't know if he's improved because he's always had this in him. But I reckon he could have had it last year, but Pitto was kind of not holding him back. But
yeah.
I think the sole ruckman games that we saw from last year, and this is why, I wouldn't say Wiedering, because his improvement has probably been a little bit it's the most improved of where you were from last year to this year. That's why the player that you're probably thinking of right now is Jordan Boyd. I'm going with Jordan Boyd right now.
It was another one, to be honest.
Oh, who do you have?
I had Lockie Cowan. I think he's improved.
All right.
No, he's not the most. He's improved. That's all I look for, and that's why I didn't have him as my mate. But yeah, I think TDK is he's improved himself massively to the kind of, I'd say, top 5 in the league ruckman at the moment. And like you said with the sole ruckman, I don't think we've lost a game.
No, I've not lost a game with him in without Pitto.
That's unbelievable.
Him in with Pitto out, yeah.
Because I think Pitto came in for the Adelaide game. That was our first loss.
Yeah.
And the Giants, and then who did we lose to the other week? I don't know, but Geelong. Yeah. So you're right. You're spot on with TDK.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't have TDK. I've got Jordan Boyd. So Jordan Boyd, and the reason why, Elijah Hollins I love, but it's where Jordan Boyd has come from. He was a mid-season recruit.
Yes.
He came from the VFL. It's not like he was AFL to AFL. It was VFL to AFL. So like Chin Cotter as well, he was kind of picked up through that mid-season draft. But yeah, Jordan, I love the way that Jordan Boyd's gone about it. But also, he's now made himself he's almost moved Zach Williams to the half forward because he did him so well. Yeah. So I don't know if Vossi was looking at Zach Williams being we're kind of lacking a half forward, so maybe you try in that position. But I think we don't know, but I think overall it might be because you can't drop Jordan Boyd.
No.
So I think the way that he's gone about it, and from where he has come to now, I think he, in my eyes, is the most improved. But Elijah Hollins, I completely agree. From VFL, but he was still on an AFL list, so I don't know if his improvement has gone so high, because he always had that. And as you said, Stuart Drew probably got sacked because he could have been playing in the bloody AFL. But it's just small things like that. That when we've been good this season, players like this, you need improvement from everyone, but you need massive improvement from the players that are ranked 35 to 40 in the side. They've now catapulted to 15 to 20 ranked in the side. And that's the improvement where each year, and next year, we probably expect a Billy Wilson to do that. Jack Carroll again, Jack Carroll's another player that we haven't even mentioned. He's played sub most of this year, and last year he was doing the same thing. But next year, it's that's the important year. That's when he needs to kind of go to another level. And if you really want to be a part of this midfield, for the next 5-10 years, you need to improve even more. And I'm sure he would be even like, I'm sure he would be motivated even more than what he was this year because he's got that exposure to AFL level. And he's like, well, I don't want to go back to the VFL. I want to play AFL. So he's going to be motivated at the end of the season. And that helps us even more to try and improve each year. But Dave Boyd, let's now move on to the player contracts. And we just mentioned then about Jack Harrell, and he's another player who's obviously out of contract next year. Or is it this? No, it's I know. So he's out of contract this year. So he's a player that probably needs to try and improve himself. But what we're going to do is we're going to go through every player who is out of contract this year. So end of 2024, these are the players who do not have a contract for 2025. So we're just going to very quickly go through the players, Dapper Boy. So Alex Murkov, who is right now a non-free agent. So also like the non-free agent, that's the status of the contract. So whether he chooses to move on, right now his status is non-free agent. So that's Alex Murkov. He's out of contract. Cooper Lord, who obviously is a mid-season draft. His status is unknown because he's obviously a mid-season recruit. David Cunningham is another player, unrestricted free agent. Dom McHugh, one of the Bag of Chat favorite Daffy Boy, non-free agent as well. Hudson O'Keefe is another player that hasn't gotten his chance at AFL level as a ruckman, and that's another conversation as to Murkov and O'Keefe, what really happens with that, because we've got TDK and Pitnet now who isn't playing in that AFL side, and he's going to be locking down that VFL ruckman. Who knows what happens with O'Keefe and Murkov. But Matt Carroll as well, he's unknown because he played. I think he's now classified as category B, or he might actually be on the primary list. But I know that he was a later pick towards the end of the year. Caleb Marchbank is another player, unrestricted free agent. He's out of contract. Sam Durden, unrestricted free agent. Jack Harrell, who we just mentioned, non-free agent. Elijah Hollins is a player that we expect to re-sign. Matt Owies is a player that's also out of contract as well at the end of the year. And one of the big names there is Jack Mutton, who is also a non-free agent. But Daffy Boy, out of all these names there, just a quick initial thought and your overall thoughts about these players. We're not going to touch on who we think we re-sign, because right now it's halfway through the year, so we don't know, because there might be some players that might come in leaps and bounds towards the end of the year.
Yeah.
But what's your overall thoughts on these player contracts?
Yeah, it's interesting. With the ruck conversation, I think you almost got to give them both a deal. You just need them. You just need them sometimes, ruckman, because obviously the Hawks have had an issue this week. Well, luckily Meek's been selected, but they would have had 2 ruckmen injured, so they would have had to play someone else in the ruck. Because I think all the ruckmen are injured, so you just never know with that type of stuff. So. Murkov's obviously had his issues, injury. I think he had something with his heart valve or something like that earlier in the year, which is not a good thing. Cooper Lord, I've got a feeling about this kid.
Me too.
And I think Nick Austin's had his eye on him. I think it was more of a get him through the door and then focus on other targets in the draft. Like, I don't know. There's just something about him. And I believe, I might have read on Twitter that it's a 6-month contract, but I think we'll re-sign him. Yeah. He'll start his VFL career next week. He had the week off last week. So he'll start his VFL career off. I think he's averaging 20 touches a game for North Melbourne's twos, who are actually really good, surprisingly. Cunningham, it's an interesting one, Cunners. It really depends on his second half of the year for me. Dom McHugh, I'm not sure. Hudson O'Keefe, like I said, touched on. Matt Carroll's had that groin issue. I'm pretty sure he's on board for next year.
Yeah.
I'm fairly sure. So, Marchbank, another interesting one. He's played the last 4 weeks in the twos. Will he get into the side? I think we maybe re-sign him just in terms of that depth. But you just don't know, Patto, like you said. And Sam Durden, probably another one you re-sign. You probably have to, just in terms of depth. And what is he, 27, 28? Probably good age. He's not young. So he's got he's got a level head, I guess. Elijah Hollins is the big one. And obviously the next 2 are big as well. But there are talks about that. And also in terms of the other contracts, Weeders has got a 5-year deal on the table from the Blues, so he will re-sign. Hollins will re-sign. I think it'll be a 4-year deal. I'd imagine. Matt Owies has had some interest from numerous clubs.
Yep.
So that'll be an interesting watch. But I just don't think he's going to leave now. We're a good side. It really depends on the money offered, to be honest, and where he thinks he's at in his career. Does he think he's going to play every week at Carlton? I think he will, but you never know, because you got Jesse Mollop in the twos pushing, and you got Ashton Moyer in there pushing. So that'll be interesting. Jack Martin's an interesting one too, with his whole. I don't know. He's it's a weird situation with him, but like we said, I think the back half of the year is going to be crucial for his contract status at the Carlton Football Club. But I think he'll stay. That's just my thinking over the last week or so.
Yeah, well, it's a good conversation overall about Matt Owies, and I think there's a bit of interest from Geelong. I think by memory, there's a few other clubs. I don't know if it's St Kilda as well, maybe by memory. I'm not sure. I'm not sure exactly, but I know that I've seen about 2 or 3 clubs that are interested in Matt Owies, and I think the conversation goes to the security as well.
Yeah.
Because if we offer him 1 or 2 and he gets an offer from Saints or whoever, that's 3 to 4, I think he might. He obviously will probably explore his options, but most likely, I think what we've really been good at is the players that we want to keep, we do keep.
Yes.
Like players that, like, if we want to move them on, we're like, okay, well, that's like that's fine.
Yeah.
Like small players. I mean, recent players is obviously Paddy Dow, Will Setterfield, Sam Petrescu-Seaton as well, who's another player. Don't worry, but yeah, like there's players that we've done very well to keep, and I'm just going to very quickly go through now. I don't want to spend too much time on this, David Boy, but so next year is a massive year for Carlton player contracts. So I'm just going to go through quickly about who is out of contract next year. Adam Chera.
Yep.
Adam Sard.
Yep.
Alex Chincotta. Billy Wilson. Blake Acres. Brody Kemp. George Hewitt. Harry Lemmy. Jack Silvani. Jacob Wiedering, who we've touched on as well. So we've put the 5-year deal on the table, so we expect him to sign that. Jesse Motlop is another player. Matthew Kennedy. Mitch McGovern. Nick Newman. Rob Monahan.
Yes. Yep.
Cam Doherty. And last but certainly not least, Tom DeConning.
Fuck.
So that's a good probably 10 players there who this year there's not a lot of, I guess, household names within the Carlton Football Club, but they're depth players where they do become crucial towards the end of the season.
Yeah.
This kind of group of players, actually, boy, that's a lot of talent right there. What's your overall thoughts on that for obviously next year? And we might have to get these players to re-sign within the next few months, because if we get to halfway through next year and these players aren't re-signed, that will be a worry. Yeah,
it definitely will be. I think we'll get the deals done. I think there'll be certain. I look at it. You just never. There's no guarantees. There's never guarantees. Like, I don't think there's I think Hewitt's a great player. I think he'll re-sign, but you don't know.
Yeah.
You just we might think, I don't know. Maybe we don't. I'm not saying we're not, but at stage next season, we might go, fuck, someone's ahead of him or whatever. But yeah, I think most of the time we'll try and get those deals done quick. I think the TDK one will drag out. I don't know why. It might be mid-year next year. He will stay, I think. He's the number one now. The good thing about McGovern coming out of contract is he's been on a lot of cash. He's been on 800 a year, so that'll free up some cash. He'll take a lower deal, no doubt about that. I reckon he'll take a 400 deal a year, I'd imagine, 400, 500 for the remainder of his career. But you never know with him. You never know with guys like that. So I hope we just get, probably 60% of those done this year, after this season, which is usually the case, I think, with those guys. I think Blake Acres will get a deal. I think they're talking about that as well. Riley Beveridge was talking about that. So I think we'll get those deals done. But you're right, Patto. It's a lot of a fair bit of talent in that free agent pool.
Yeah, no, exactly right. And then another player also who is out of contract next year is Orazio Fantasia, who is a player that now I got a bit of a comment on our last video, the review episode, and I'm just going to touch on that. So apparently I said that Orazio Fantasia, him personally, is a crucial in. Now, I was talking about more the four players as a whole. So Jesse Motlop, Durden, Fantasia, and I think I said Owies maybe. They were the four. that I kind of touched on, and I'm like, well, they are crucial ins, but I was more touching on their motlops, like that
Yeah.
sorry, the other player was Jack Martin. That
Yeah.
like Martin and Motlop are the two players that are like crucial ins. But in total, I think Arizo Fantasia and Corey Durdon have proved that they're great depth players. And when they come in, they
Yeah.
can make a difference. And I think that is obviously a call that I will stand by. And I think you would obviously agree. And maybe I mean, when we are doing the episodes, we don't edit anything out. We try not to at all. So a lot of the things that we say, it's pretty much right off the bat. So like we try and say a few things that maybe it might be taken out of context, but I probably shouldn't have said those four players as a whole were crucial ins. I was more talking about Motlop and Martin, but I still think Arizo Fantasia has come to be a solid player the past 2 or 3 weeks. I reckon I will stand by that because his role has changed a little bit, and I don't think he'll come straight back in by all means, but if he proves himself in the VFL and he comes back in, I won't be complaining. So, Death Boy, let's now move on. I'm going to throw it straight to you, and it's been the highly anticipated Bagger of the Year leaderboard. So, obviously, you've got the top 5 leaderboard in front of you right now. Take us through the Bagger of the Year votes right now.
Yeah, so obviously I'll say the top 5. I've got looking at the whole list. It's quite funny who's got votes and who hasn't. There's certain players who haven't got votes. Obviously, it's a 3-2-1 system, so not everyone's going to get a vote at this stage of the season or have got a vote at this stage of the season. I'll just quickly ask you though, who do you think's your top 5? And I'll go. No, actually, I'll just go. Yeah, go to top 5. Just names, doesn't have to be by order or whatever.
Yeah, I'll go Cooper, Tom DeConning, Harry Mackay, Charlie Curnow, and I'll go Blake Acres. That's a bit of an outlandish last 2 calls. I don't know Curnow. Yeah, all right, that's what I'll stick with.
Yeah, it's interesting because yeah, it is. It's very, very yeah. You've got a few players in there that are obviously in the top 5. I'm just looking through the votes. I'm just making sure I've got all those correctly. Yeah, so I'm going to go from 5, 5th to 1st. There's one player that just missed out at the top 5 of the mid-season. It's Elijah Hollins.
Oh,
he has just missed out. He's just missed out in the top 5. He is 6. So I'll just say the 6th player who just missed out. He just missed out.
yeah.
So 5th place currently in the leaderboard is Tom DeConing, 15 votes. 15 votes for Tom DeConing. 4th place. He came later in the season, hadn't played the first few weeks. Sam Walsh in 4th place.
Wow.
18 votes. Now, we get to the top 3. And, this is not the end of the season. It's going to get, quite interesting the back half of the year. Jacob Wiedering is in 3rd place with 19 votes. There's one key out of this top 5 that you named. And it's interesting because I just had to look through again. He is definitely not in his top 5. He is definitely, I recounted it the other day and made sure he isn't in there. Because I don't think he's had many 3s. He's had a couple 1s and plenty of 1s. 2nd place, Harry Mackay.
Wow. Yeah.
22 votes. And I was looking at it just before, I just wanted structure to see where he got his votes from. And they're all, a lot of them was in that first half of the year. I think the first 4 weeks, he almost got 3 votes from both of us in every game. And first place, Paddy Cripps, 33 votes. He's currently leading Harry by 11. So the one key out is Charlie. The one key out is Charlie, and I think he's currently on 8. No, he's currently on 7 votes. So it's interesting to see that, isn't it? I'm not saying he's had a bad year, but it's kind of shows who's been the standout or the 3 votes for us in a sense. And I was just looking through then, and he's got plenty of 1s. That's what he's got. He's still the best 3 players on the ground, but he hasn't been that 3 vote getter, which has been once in our votes. But it is interesting. There's a few others around the mark, especially lately with Zach Williams, Nick Newman. I won't say their votes in particular number-wise, but McGovern, and that's about it, really. You got other guys getting 1s and 2s, whether it's, Blake Acres and George Hewitts and, Cottrells and Sards. So, yeah, it's I think the top 5, like I said, one guy skyrocketed up there with Tom DeConing, and we'll chuck these votes up on socials after this video is up. So if you want to share those around or have your say on those, or who would be in your top 5, let us know. But yeah, it's going to be interesting the back half of the year. But yeah, Cripps is he's got a fair lead in the inaugural Baggers Chat Bagger of the Year.
Yeah, no, well said. Yeah, well, one of the ones that I was thinking of is like the interesting one is Sam Walsh. Like that was a player that I'm like, I don't know if he would have made it because sorry, go.
He's got a lot of 2s. That's why I was just looking through then, because I knew you'd bring it up. He got the 3 for Adelaide from both of us, and then he got 2 from both of us the next week, and then he gets a lot of 2s. That's how he's got up. That's how he's got up.
Yeah. Yeah, because like I reckon that would have been the difference from Walshy to Curnow.
Yes.
Like Walsh 2, Curnow 1, and they're like tight. But yeah, I think, I mean, it's quite funny that you kind of mentioned a guy who is obviously up there for the comment. I think he's still leading, Charlie Curnow. Is he still leading?
Yeah, equal top. Yeah.
With Ben King.
Yep.
Yeah. So like he's leading the comment and he's not even in our top 5. Like that's unbelievable. But yeah, no, well said, Daft Boy. And yeah, I mean, that was something that we were kind of excited to go through the top 5. But make sure to tune in to the end of the year episode because we will go through the board once again. But early predictions, Daft Boy, for the bagger of the year, who would you say?
I think it's going to be hard to top Cripper, but you never know. There could be players making a late charge at the back end of the year. And that probably includes Sam Walsh and Tom DeConing for me. But Tom DeConing, he's a fair bit behind Cripps. But if he keeps getting best ons, Patto, he's going to get close. He will get close. So it's going to be exciting, Patto. It's good to have a little bit of fun in terms of votes.
You know, exactly right. So this is probably the last segment we'll touch on. Maybe we'll try and touch on a quick one after this, but we're just going to go through the remainder of the season. So right now we are 9 wins, 4 losses, and we're just going to go through the rest of the games for the year, and we'll say win or loss, and then we'll calculate how many wins we get at the end of the year, and then we will like try and find out how many wins and losses we have for the end of the year. So, Daft Boy, I'm just going to throw straight to you. So, round 15, Geelong v Carlton. Do you take that as a win or a loss?
Well, the way I look at it, you play them the second time. If you lost them the first time, and we're a little bit better now, and they're a little bit iffy with form. I know they started well against Sydney. Not saying they're bad. It's going to be a tough task, but I think we get the job done against the Cats.
Yeah, completely agree. I'll put that down as a win as well. Round 16 v the Tigers, with obviously Tom Lynch maybe returning he's meant to be returning this week for the Dusty's 300th. But what do you know? Tom Lynch might be playing against Carlton once again for the
unbelievable
18th year in a row, even though he hasn't been playing that many years of football. Tigers round 16, win or loss, Daft Boy?
Win, but they will be in better shape than they were. Of course, they're always in good shape when we're playing them. I just swear to God, we'll beat them though comfortably.
Yeah, completely agree. I have that as a win as well. Round 17, Giants away. So playing, what's it called? What's the home ground called?
Engie Stadium.
Engie,
yeah, it's a electricity company.
Interesting. You have that as a win or loss, Daffy boy.
Like I said, before we film this episode, we're very good there. But I'm looking at the next draw. I want to give us a loss, but I think we can win this game, definitely. I think we can win this game, but I've put it down as a loss.
Right. Yeah, I'll agree. I initially had this as a loss.
Yep.
But yeah, I'll try and, like, if I completely disagree, but I don't know, because I think we both think alike for most of the game. So round 17. Round 18 v the Dogs at Marvel Stadium. Win or loss?
We don't lose 2 in a row. We win.
Completely. Round 19 v North at Marvel Stadium. Do you have it?
You should already had the W on the sheet.
like an automated W, be like, oh, round 19 isn't even So round 19 win against the North, against the Kangaroos, I assume.
Yes, hopefully comfortably.
Round 20 v Port, who once again probably would want to get their revenge, I guess, from halfway through the year when we beat them at their home ground. They want to get some redemption when they play us at our home ground, win or loss.
I don't think they're up to our standard. I think it's a game you could lose. You can lose any game. I guess you could say that. But I'm looking at this draw. I'm not putting many losses down, but I think this draw is comfortable for us. I think it's very comfortable at the moment. The way we're playing. If there's someone will cut this and fucking like it'll be a Collingwood supporter watching right now, and he'll cut this and save this in case we shit the bed in the last 10 weeks of the year. But I think we win this game.
Yeah. Well, maybe flashing back to last year's mid-season review, and you mentioned, I don't know if you remember, you mentioned, I think it was round 20 when we played the Pies. That was when we were absolutely ordinary, by the way. Like, we play Gold Coast before the bye?
So we just came off a Gold Coast win. So I was basing my predictions off a win against Gold Coast. Well, the tables turned. There was something different in that game, though.
Yeah. It's just funny to well, we just beat the Suns by 60 points at the MCG when they play like shit when they play away. I'm going to tip the Bangers to beat the Pies round 20. But, I mean, you predicted very well. But round 20 Port, so did you say win or loss? Win. Okay, done. I agree as well. Round 21, which is a bit of a similar situation to last year. We obviously beat. We obviously lost to the Pies through this year as well. Do you see this as a bit of a redemption by getting a win against the Pies?
Well, there'll be no doubt their injury woes will be stopped by then. So they'll have DeGoey back. They'll have, Peter Dacos will come out of retirement and play. They'll fucking, Anyway, they'll have their full team in because they've had injury woes the last few weeks. So, because if we win this game, I don't think we lose another game in the back half, the last 3 games of the season. So, we lose one game in the last 9, which is possible. Pies. I'm going to shift over to you, mate. What do you reckon to winning it?
I have this as a win.
Yeah.
Purely because the week after we play against the Hawks, and I think we might head into those last 3 games. This is going to be absolute cakewalk. Pardon the pun. Cakewalk. Pardon the pun.
Yeah.
But I just think that we could win this game and everyone would be saying, the boys are going to finish top of the ladder. But then we lose to the Hawks a week after. So that's my thinking. So would you want to put this down as a win against the Pies and loss against the Hawks? Or would you think a win against the Pies and then a win against the Hawks?
A win against the Pies and then we don't lose another game. We don't. No, I would say from the Giants' loss, we won't lose another game for the rest of the season.
Okay. So win against the Pies, win against the Hawks.
Win, right? We get top 2, get a home final qualifying. You get a home prelim if you win that. I'm not, this is my predictions. Each to their own, of course. And you never know what's going to happen with injuries and et cetera. But win. And then prelim win. And then you probably face, who do you face? Might be Sydney. Might be Collingwood at the G. Who knows? But I predict us to be in the grand final this year. I am not being cocky. I just believe in this team heavily. And especially after last year, I think we've built to another level. And we made a prelim last year.
Yeah. So 9 wins where we are right now. So that's 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 wins. So 18 wins, 5 losses is what we would finish at the end of the season if all goes well and if our predictions go well. You watch, we will beat the Giants and we'll lose the fucking North. You watch. But no.
Well, I said with the Giants game, that's a winnable game because they're a little bit hit and miss at the moment.
Completely agree.
I'm not saying we're going to get to 19 wins, but I think 18 wins probably gets you top 2. Probably gets you top 2 or definitely close to it.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. So obviously, so 18 wins, 5 losses. I think that will 100% lock you in for top 4. But depending on how Sydney go, if they start to lose some games, because obviously they're 11-1, so they're holding their top position very well. But that means we could go first, we could go 4. I don't reckon if we're 18-5, I don't reckon we'll go beyond. I don't reckon we'll go lower than 4th on the ladder. But who do you reckon we will play? I know that you mentioned it a bit But if we are to fit, so say if we finish second right now, I think that's a stat that we kind of think like those stats there, the win and losses, you kind of expect that to be a second or third place team. Who do you reckon we would play in the qualifying final?
Wow. Could be a Fremantle.
Wow.
Could be a Fremantle. I think they're playing a little bit better footy attacking wise lately. Their defense holds up pretty well also, but it also could be those dickheads in black and white.
Yeah.
Could be those dickheads in black and white. So I hope it isn't. Yeah, but it's really hard to pick this year, the top four, because I reckon Essendon's still third somehow. So yeah, it's a good question, but it's really hard to answer for me at the moment. But I think we might play the Swans in the grand final if we make it.
Yeah. There's something about Geelong where I think they've had a bit of a crap few weeks, but we all know the experience of Geelong. And I think when they're around that 8, very rarely they drop into that 5th to 8th spot on the ladder. I think they pretty much will make that 1st to 4th spot. And I reckon we'll be playing the Cats in a qualifying final, 2nd versus 3rd. We'll be 2nd and the Cats will be 3rd. So I think that's what it will be. And the grand final will be Carlton versus Collingwood at the... Could you just... I couldn't imagine that.
I couldn't breathe, I reckon, for a week.
Nah. Would you... Sorry, go.
Bad enough losing. It's bad enough playing them during the year, right? I hate going to those games. I fucking hate it with a passion. Because just losing to them is just unbearable if it's a home and away game. But I can't imagine a final, let alone a grand final, against that fucking team. What were you going to say before that?
I was saying about like, so if we, overall, I don't know if I think we won't make the grand final this year. I just think that we will maybe lose in a prelim, and then next year, this is just me right now. Right now, like, it might change. Like, we might be the Cats by 80 points on the weekend.
Who do we lose the prelim to, though?
Sydney.
So we play them away.
Fuck. No.
Yeah.
We would. See, I reckon they're first, but I reckon they could lose the qualifying to Collingwood.
Fuck.
In Sydney.
Fuck. So if we lose the prelim, it'll be at the G.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think someone said, I think Matthew Lloyd said the other day, this league isn't that good this year.
No, it's not, is it?
That's why I think we're going to make the grand final. It's not that good. Like, we've got Port Adelaide and Essendon in the top 4 at the moment. Melbourne are going to drop off due to, a big injury and their form dip. They'll be okay. I think they'll be around the mark. But they're not going to make top 4, Patto. Like, you look at it and you go, fuck.
Yeah.
Giants, they'll probably make or break in the next couple of weeks in terms of top 4 or top 8. Gold Coast around the mark. They lost last week. You know what I mean? Like, that's why I reckon we'll make it, because I just don't think I think we're just that step above at the moment as these teams, and you just never know in finals. But I just think last year we made the prelim off the back of a big run, but I think we make the grand final off the back of consistency.
Yeah. It's a good, it's obviously very unknown conversation because we have no idea. It's a prediction, but I'm just thinking that I think Geelong will really pull their finger out and because they were one of the best sides for the first 7 rounds.
I don't rate them at all.
I think they're
their mids aren't good enough. Their mids aren't beating our mids. They didn't beat us in the midfield when we played them last time.
Yeah.
The only reason we could finish is because we had 2 quarters of 2 goals 8.
Yeah. I think
they lost to Port Adelaide at home. They lost to Giants at home. They were down at 3/4 time to Richmond at home. They're up by 5 goals against Sydney. Well, I guess we were as well, but it's lost by 6 goals. So I don't know. It's a very, like you said, it's so hard to predict at the moment. Yeah, I think that's their midfield is the biggest question mark for the Cats.
Yeah.
Because their forward line and their defense is pretty good, but their mid's very young. And you know what I mean? They're just not there yet, I don't think. And I've got a good Geelong mate who he always tunes in a bag of chat. He always loves a good laugh or if we lose or whatever. But he's a big Geelong man, Jakey boy. But he said it's their midfield that costs them big time. So it'll be interesting to see what he has to say for the back half of the year.
Yeah, like as you said, I think it's really tough to predict. But I'm just thinking the experience, and as you said, like this is probably the weakest competition in a very long time because
Close but weak. It's close but weak. Everyone goes, oh, because it's close, it's good. It's good that it's even, but I think it's us, Sydney, and then a gap a little bit at the moment.
Yeah. Yes. See, like that's what I'm saying. Like it's at the moment because I mean, as I said earlier, like the first 7 games, Geelong were like one of the best teams in the comp, and everyone's saying, well, like this is the Cats that we like last year they were obviously absent from the top 8 and the finals, and the year before they won a premiership. So they can turn it around very quickly. And that's just why I just think right now, I think Cats are, I mean, they're not a threat. Obviously, they're not a threat, but it's really is down to the second half of the season. And even Giants, like Giants were saying,
Yeah, you never know.
yeah, because there were people that were saying the Giants were going to win the premiership halfway through, like in the first half of the year. So small things like that, but yeah, I think right now we are in the box seat. It really is our destiny now, but it's whether we can actually handle it and really push towards a grand final. And my God, if we're playing Sydney in a grand final at the MCG,
Bring it on. Fucking bring it on. Seriously. Yes. Like, well, once again, I'm just pulling out all my mates here, talking to my close mate. Hatchie's a Richmond supporter. So obviously there's a bit of, you don't like each other's teams, but he said he was talking to his old man and he said, like, all Carlton got to do is just make that granny against Sydney. And he said it was similar to 2017 Richmond, where they weren't the best team. Adelaide were the best team all year.
100%.
Adelaide, they should have won that grand final in terms of their year form. What happened, Patto? Overawed by the Victorian big club, whose momentum at the end of the year was bang. You know what I mean? It was just like, oh, shit. Like, you know what I mean? It was just they were overawed in the situation. And why can't that happen this year? Because I think there's something about the Swans in Victoria that I feel like we always have an edge over them. I don't know why.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, well said. Now, Def Boy, let's now move on to our last segment. It's not really a segment, but it's more of once again a prediction for the rest of the year. So, Def Boy, I'm going to try and be as open as possible. Like you can choose anything within Carlton. Like you can choose a player to break out with a prediction of like maybe like a Billy Wilson's going to find his way into this senior side and keep his spot heading into finals. Like small things like that. Maybe you can say like we might reach 110,000 members. Like it could be anything within Carlton for the prediction for the rest of the year. What have you got? I know that it is a bit of an outlandish question, but if you've got anything, what would you have for the prediction for the rest of the year?
There's a lot of things you could do, especially like now, the ceiling, there's no ceiling for the rest of the season, in my opinion. I think we can go as far as lifting up the cup. So, you could say that, you could say the premiership, but I think for me, I just had something in my head. I know I'm being a bit of a fanboy of this guy the last month or so, but I think it's going to be in a prelim or a grand final where he gets best on ground and he kicks 4 and has 20 plus. And I think it's Elijah Hollins.
I knew you were going to say that.
I think he comes on the scene and goes, holy shit, like almost a Norm Smith type. Like, oh my God, like, holy shit. Like, this guy is just re-signed for the club and now he's just won or best on in a big game. And he proved to me on the weekend that he can play on the big stage in front of a big crowd, which he obviously couldn't do at the Suns because, 1, he wasn't playing, and 2, if he was playing, it was in front of, 2,000 at People First Stadium. So, that's my prediction. I think he's going to have a big impact come finals time and a big final. And I think he'll kick a winning goal in one of the finals.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, baby.
Could you just imagine that? Like last year we saw with Blake Higgins, but Elijah Hollins in front of a packed MCG. Who goes against arch rivals, maybe prelim final, rating premiers. Get around it. But now my prediction, I don't usually like touching on individual awards or individuals as a whole, but I usually want to try and touch on team, but I think it's just too unpredictable. So I think the prediction that I've got, and I will stand by this until he plays a bad game, and it's Patrick Cripps winning a second Brownlow medal. I think I don't think there is enough credit going to him, which I love. I love
Yeah.
it. Everyone's speaking about Isaac Heaney. There's people speaking about Bontempelli. There's people speaking about Dacos, but no one's speaking about Patrick Cripps being a genuine threat to this Brownlow medal. And I think Cripper is going to be a two-time Brownlow medalist and also a one-time Norm Smith medalist and also a one-time premiership captain and also a one-time premiership player. But I mean, I'm not too sure about those other things, but I think the one thing that I will say is Patrick Cripps will win the Brownlow medal at the end of the year. But Daffy Boy, that's obviously, we've done a bit of a longer episode today, which is obviously good. There obviously was a lot to touch on for mid-season review. But before we wrap up the episode, is there anything else you would like to touch on?
Not really. I think we've covered a lot in terms of the mid-season and looking back and reflecting on the first, 13 games of the season. It's going to be exciting times. It's definitely exciting times at Carlton Sport at the moment. Looking at the back half of the year and the games we can win and going into the one difference I have, the stark difference I have as a Carlton Sport over the last few years is going into games every week thinking you can win. Not the false hope, actually thinking you will win. So, enjoy it, guys. Soak it in, and let's hope the end of season review isn't called the end of season review. It's called the Premiership Review. So hopefully that is you never know. You fucking never know. We're definitely a chance this year. So let's believe, and the boys will dig in and hopefully lift up this number 17.
Can you just imagine the Premiership Review?
Oh, fuck. I was thinking about it today. I was thinking about the actual game review of the grand final. We're not going to be able to fucking do it. Well, I'll have to do it live, like at Icon Park the next morning at 4 a.m. in the morning or something with 2 beers in my hand. Double pup. Get the mics out. You could definitely do that. Set up the tripod.
Yep.
Get some mics.
Yeah. Fuck. I mean, realistically, we'll probably be on top of the Icon Park roof, having a few cheeky Bevelinkos. But who knows? We might even get Alex Chincotta onto the channel and Cincotta on Chincotta after he's just won a fucking premiership medal, mate. But I think if we win the grading, I don't reckon I'll be coming home for about a week.
Oh no! Wow.
But
fuck. I'm thinking about. I'd be going straight to Icon. I don't know what time I'd get home. I'd be going every bar in Lygon Street. I'd be running around. There'd be people handing out, hugging random people, fucking people jumping on top of cars and all that type of shit. But gee, it'll be an amazing experience, I reckon. Seeing all the Carlton people get around. It'll be a good. I'm going to be a good celebration vlog, to be honest with you. Post game celebration vlog. That'll get a few views, I reckon. But it'll be exciting times if we do get up.
Yeah, God. Because obviously Kerry has watched.
Yes.
Has she been to a grand final?
No, she didn't go to 95, but obviously she watched it. She couldn't go to 95, but she said Lygon Street was absolute madness. That day there was, people, like I said, jumping on top of cars and horns and, the whole street was packed full of car people. So it'll be good to hopefully break the drought in the next year or two.
Yeah. And they thought Collingwood winning the grand final last year was big. You wait. You wait and see. But, I think we've touched on a few things there, Daft Boys. So, I don't know how long. I think it's been probably just over an hour, if I was to guess. But, it's been a good episode. But obviously, we'll have a bit of a break as well until our preview episode for the Cats round 15. I'm actually going to that game, which I'm glad about. I was saying to you a few weeks ago that I might not be able to go to another Carlton game for the rest of the year because work clashes with a lot of the games, but I think I should be able to go to the Cats game. So that's promising. But we'll try and get the preview out probably mid-week next week. It's obviously a Friday night game, so we want to try and get it out as soon as possible. But we'll get this mid-season review out tonight by 6 p.m. So tonight, 14th of June, on a Friday night, 6 p.m. So this is the time that we'll get the mid-season review out. But to every single blue bagger out there, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure to get around the channel. We are on the road to 1,000 subscribers. Not too sure the exact stat, but I think we're up to about 940, I would say. I think that's the last time that I've checked, which was a few days ago. Make sure to get around the road to 1,000 subscribers. We're approaching it very quickly. But And also make sure to get around our socials as well. We're on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. Daffy Boy is doing a bit of a, I don't even know what to do, but make sure to get around all those social channels. But to you, Daffy Boy, and to every single blue bagger out there, I'm the baggers.